Morning, it's Martin from Martin's Engine Services. Well, it's Wednesday, so it's time for the old what's happening in the workshop on a Wednesday. Well, a few things on the go today, mostly organising and sorting out. As you see, there's a vast amount of space here in the bottom workshop for a change, and in front of me is the Lister G1 engine, which I'm going to sort out the handle on today because I need to move it, and the handle's kind of fallen to pieces. Well, not fallen to pieces, it kind of gave up under pressure, should we say. So from a mower I stripped down, I salvaged another handle. So I'm going to put that on there so I can wheel it about easier, because I do need to move it out of the way. Because a good friend of mine's coming up this evening. He's bringing his little run around car he uses, little Skoda Fabia, I think it is. Brilliant little car, the old 1.2 3-cylinder engine. And it needs he has a few advisors on the MOT, and now and again he pops up. He lives down at Hemel Hempstead, Hertfordshire. Now and again he pops up to see me, and we mull the day over and a bit of a laugh, so it's always nice, that sort of thing. And he wants to say, I'm going to give him a hand do that. So obviously the Vauxhall Vivaro is stuck in the top workshop, and I'll come back to that in a minute, because the saga has just got very much more interesting. It's the van that keeps giving. Well, it's certainly giving Martin sleepless nights, so yes, we'll come back to that. So I thought I'd get everything out of this workshop, clean it all up, so we can get the car in here. What I did yesterday, I got very creative. I haven't quite finished it yet because I need a bigger tarpaulin, but stand out here in the rain. Over there in the distance, you can see that blue sheet, and poking out from underneath there is the Countach leaf sweeping mower. So I very creatively made him a little house. Got to get a bigger tarpaulin on that and stretch that out, but that keeps him out of the way, nice and dry. So he'll be fine over there. I mean, probably spent about 10 years of his life sitting out in the rain before I rescued it. So, but I don't want to ruin it, because it's a handy old tool, and it's been working well. Oh dear, the old lurgy's still going. Yet one day when it's gone, and the next day it's back again. So, see, it's a glorious day here. It's all sort of nice and misty and damp, and generally yuck. So I'm going to be doing the Lister G1 now. The Vivaro. Oh yes, the saga very much continues. I think you all have seen the last video when I went. Actually, the cylinder head's next door. When I went full griller and basically ripped the cam cover assembly off of the engine. Now, laying here on the bench is the poor cylinder head. Now, I've resorted to obviously cutting the injectors off. There's nothing can happen here. I mean, it's pure corrosion. That's what it is. It's just a bit of light on it. I mean, just have a look at the corrosion around here. This is all rusty iron, aluminium, and that's what's left of the bolts. That there is just the pure corrosion. So there's no way back for that one, and that's that. Now, we discovered, having rummaged through it, we found, it was 4 broken rockers in the end. There's a few of the bits here and the carnage. I think there's more bits somewhere. Another one. So it looks like the valves have had all right. Martin's off again. Have all had contact at some point. So we knew about that. But here's the very, very interesting bit, and it is definitely interesting. I started cleaning up the top of the block, and I was cleaning up the pistons. Now, remember I said this had a very, very bad, it sounded like a piston hitting the head, or a piston knock. A real hard piston noise is what it was. And that went away when the misfire started and it lost all the power. Now, I thought I'd got the chain of events right, and the sound was the valves hitting the pistons. It wasn't. These are 2 unrelated problems, which have occurred literally within a matter of days of each other, I suppose. Now, if we have a close-up here of cylinder 4, We get that in the right light. Now, what do we see running across the top of the piston? See if we can get that. There we go. That's better focus there. We have a crack running right across the top of the piston, disappearing down there. And there's also the start of a second one right there. So that was the source of the knocking noise. I presume the piston has cracked straight down the skirt, down the side, possibly through to the gudgeon pin or piston pin bore. There's no marks on the cylinder wall, excuse me, at all. Cylinder walls are in pretty good condition, actually. Bit of carbon on the top there, but they say seem pretty good. I've inspected piston number 1, and there is what looks like. Oh yeah, it is. I cleaned this last night, and with WD-40 similar. It's dry. It's dried out. Yeah, look, there's the start of one there as well. Same place, right radiating from the corner where the valve pocket was. It's quite possible that the other two have got damage. Now looking down the oh dear, Martin's conking out here. Looking down the board here, you see that shiny segment there. That's where the valve was contacting. We have valve contact here. There's marks in the carbon here on the aluminium where the valve's been touching. A little bit of alley raised there. I mean, that hasn't damaged the piston. Same on this cylinder here. And they would have been, let me think, these would have been the inlet. These were the inlet valves this side. It's inlets, exhausts. But I thought at first that was a scratch in the piston, but I've given it a good clean up. And when you get a magnifying glass on it, you can actually see, especially there where the crack is. So that is the problem. I mean, this cylinder was obviously heavily contaminated with raw diesel where it hadn't been firing, with obviously the inlet valves not opening. That's why it cleaned off easy. The rest of the piston looks fine. There's no damage around the tops. I haven't closely inspected these two, but they look all right. So, but that's it. So that was the noise, was the piston. That was what the real hard knock was. Now, of course, subsequently, a matter of what, hours, a day afterwards, we'll never be sure, of course, the timing chain jumped. And then it's hit these two valves on here and bust these. It's bust a couple of others. Why it hasn't done both valves on one cylinder, I don't know. That's a bit of a mystery. Why it broke, it was an inlet on 2 and an exhaust on 1. Maybe it was just the way it bounced, it jumped back. And as I said, as I said in the previous video, the chain had jumped in a weird way, but we'll never be sure what happened there. That's one of them ones that's between me and not between me, it's between the engine and itself, so no one will ever know on that one. But that is definitively going to be the reason for the rattling. Now, of course, this rattling noise stopped as soon as these valves stopped opening, and this cylinder couldn't fire. There's no combustion explosion on top of the piston to open the crack or to rattle the piston on the bore. Now that's what threw me, and when I thought it was the valves contacting, broke the valves, then it went quiet. So obviously that wasn't what happened. See, clearly the piston cracked for some reason, and then the chain jumped. Yeah, so the time frame is very variable. I said before that's changed a few times. So that answers it. That was the cause of the rattle. Now it's not a huge crack, but of course it's working its way around into the bowl of the combustion chamber. It will then carry on down here. Chances are it's through this surface and down the side of the piston. And once it's ran again, obviously all the combustion occurs in the bowl in the piston here. The compressor will be opening the crack, and eventually it will just split and it will burn down the side of the piston down through to the rings, or possibly even burn a hole through here. Hands in the way. Somewhere along here it will burn a hole through there and go straight out through into the crankcase. So that has completely done for that. I just really think this is at the point where it's time to call it. I mean, obviously you can find the used engines. They're going to be £400-500. You're going to have to get the injectors out because you need to A, check them, and B, probably code them. You'd have to put a timing chain kit on it, whatever you did, and inspect the crankshaft and bottom end. Now you can buy a chain cylinder head bearing kit for these for about £350. Obviously, now the work involved has got, it's a lot worse. I've got to pull all that lot out, strip all that down. So obviously it's drive shaft, gearbox, gear change, blah 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 blah. Hours and hours more labour, and then of course you'll find various other bits need doing. Now, this is a piston out of the spare engine, or the scrap parts engine. Now I was curious to see whether it's the same piston, and of course it isn't. All these pistons are graded 04J 26711 is obviously their size and weights, and this one is a 03H 27608. So obviously factory bore size will vary fractionally. There's probably A to K, J, whatever, and different weights. So although it's the same bore size, there will be a slight variation in potentially its weight. That probably wouldn't make any difference on an engine of this higher mileage and what it's been used for. But it's not simply a case of drop the sump and change it, because you've got the intermediate, you've got the lower sump, and you've got the intermediate section which bolts along here, and that has the rear crankshaft oil seal bolted to it. So you've got to remove the clutch, flywheel, rear oil seal, lower sump pan, upper, well, whatever you want to call it, upper pan, block girdle, griddle, whatever it is. Drop that off. Then you're going to pull the rod out and piston. You're also then going to be interchanging the big end shells as a precautionary. Then all the work involved to clean the sump out, stuff an odd piston in it, source the head, and it goes on and on and on and on. So, absolutely no hope. I just think it's time to call it. It's been interesting, but now I have 100% know what happened. And this is just a very, very classic case of how two totally unrelated things that have occurred almost simultaneously. Hey, another good word. And that creates, it leads to a chain of events that can lead you in a path of thinking, this is not right, I'm doing one job or something else. I mean, that was very visible in the carbon. Very visible. I hardly cleaned it at all. I took the head off, just wiped the diesel out, and straight away I saw it and I thought, is it a scratch? But no, I've cleaned it, thoroughly. I've washed it clean with solvent. I've blown it out the airline, and it's going downwards. I've got a very powerful magnifying glass, and its magnifying glass is quite handy. It's actually come out of a Mazda MX-5 headlight, and it's one of these optical lenses. But as a magnifying glass, it's truly awesome. So you can, if you get it in the right angle, you can literally see into the actual split in the alley. So that's what's happened there. I'm going to be speaking to the guy today, and I'm going to see what he wants to do, because I've discovered a few other things about this as well. I mean, it just went out of MOT the other week, and this brake pipe here is just basically, ooh. In fact, I don't even think I want to touch that. It's so bad. And of course, that heads. Oh, look at that. Ooh. Yeah, I don't think we poked that, and that heads off around the subframe and all the way to the ABS unit under the vehicle. And then I discovered there's a slight problem with the wishbone rear bushes. I don't think it's going to shut up now. The rear bone, no, hang on, Martin's had it. The rear wishbone bushes are hanging out, so the wheel's just flapping backwards and forwards. I just noticed, I think that the roll bar bushes are hanging out as well. So that's not good. I know the handbrake doesn't work that well either. You have to heave it to stop it. The pads look quite new. Discs, I think I did pads and discs on this. I know I did handbrake cables, but I can't remember whether I did calipers. But I mean, obviously, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And in fact, looking down there at the anti-roll bar, you can see all the rust coming out where the roll bar's been working against the bush. So, yeah, it all adds up. Tyres are all pretty good. It's actually quite a straight vehicle, which is unusual for one of this age, but straight bodywork don't make it go any better. Oh dear, oh dear. I think I might have to have another emergency cup of tea. So that, I'm afraid, well, not afraid, I think is exactly what it is. Probably time to call it a day. So, is definitely the only thing I can think of. Oh, on the subject of the camshafts quickly, I did compare. There's the one with the timing, with the weird, well, the one out of this vehicle. It's got 2 notches, 1 notch, it's totally different. And the other cam is the same part number, and all the peaks have remained in exactly the same place. You can visually see they're all correct. So that's not a problem. So that has survived. I did actually manage to, I don't know if I mentioned last week, I did actually manage to get half of an injector sleeve out of the scrap head. I did actually do what I said. I actually air gunned the bolt in by about 25-30 mil. Then I've seam welded around the top twice, but a big plate on the top, and I attacked it with the air gun. It pulled 2/3 of the sleeve out and left the rest of the injector and the sleeve stuck in the bottom. I then put it in the hydraulic press, and I went all the way around till I couldn't physically move the press anymore, with a hardened steel pin on the end injector, and it will not come out. I've crushed the injector into the head now. So I picked that head up, dumped it on the scrap pile, and this is where this one's going. Now, surprisingly enough, considering what this has been through, it doesn't appear to have any bent valves. They're all sealing up nicely, because I have tried air pressure down all the cylinders, and they all seal perfectly. Now, these valves aren't completely straight to the piston. They are actually very slightly inclined, but I think they're just so slightly inclined it wasn't enough to tip the heads over. So ironically, there's a good set of valves in there, and I have a good set from the scrap engine. Now, one thing's for sure, you wouldn't trust any of these followers. Every one of those followers is at risk, because if they've been hit, I mean, if this was in, say, cylinder 1, and it was on the exhaust, and it broke that one, and that was on the opposite exhaust with its partner, that must have took some pressure on there, and must have took some hitting. Now, you'd throw all these away. There's a good set if necessary in the other engine, but it's unlikely we'll need them. So, that's the 100% final diagnosis of the Vivaro. I think that's about the 20th different version Martin's come up with, but this is the official one. So, I shall leave you with that in a very nice tidy workshop. And I'm going to repair this handle properly so I can move this around. Got a few errands to run, a few other little jobs to do, bits and pieces, and then I can wait for my friend to arrive later today, and then tomorrow we can attack his car. So it should be a good day tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. He's a great guy, so it's nice to catch up with the old pals. So I should be looking forward to that. Say anyhow, that's what's happening on this grey and horrible and chilly old Wednesday. I'll leave you a lovely view of the yeah, nice. So I'm going to retire for another emergency cup of tea, and then I shall bring you back later in the week, probably, if any more progress in the Vivaro or anything else happens. But that's what we're up to now. Gained another subscriber today, and we just hit 23,000 views as well. So that's fantastic. So thank you all very, very much indeed. It's much, much appreciated. And bye for now.